Well, joining us from Amman is Shaina Low. She's the Communications Advisor at the Norwegian Refugee Council. Great to have you back with us, Shaina. We just heard there from Ashraf the dire conditions on the ground there made worse by the flooding. Tell us, in your view, what needs to be done now in order to address the conditions on the ground in Gaza?
Well, there are several things that need to happen in order to improve conditions and save lives. First and foremost, we need to see a surge of shelter equipment and materials entering Gaza. The UN and humanitarian agencies have only been able to bring in about 15,000 tents since the ceasefire came into effect. Now, some governments have been able to bring in materials separate from the UN system, but these materials are not always up to humanitarian standards, are not, as Ashraf mentioned in the previous report, water resistant, and so there's leaking happening. The tents do not stay dry. Some of them are just too flimsy to withstand the winds of winter. The second thing we need, in addition to a surge of materials, and in addition to the surge, we need to have organizations like the Norwegian Refugee Council stop having their materials blocked from entering by Israel. We've applied multiple times to bring in shelter assistance that is waiting in Egypt and continue to face rejections and obstructions. And we are not alone. Dozens of other NGOs are in the same boat. But the second thing that we need, in addition to the materials getting in, is we need tools. We need heavy machinery in order to clear the rubble, remove both solid waste and sewage to ensure that the floodwaters are not contaminated. We need to be able to dig drainage canals to improve sites and mitigate flooding. We need to be able to bring in sandbags and other materials in order to prevent floodwaters from reaching people's tents and sites. What we are seeing and hearing on the ground from our teams is just unimaginable in terms of people being cold, people being wet, people's belongings, the limited belongings they have left, being destroyed due to floodwaters. And all of this we knew would happen, and yet we have not seen enough pressure to bring in the materials needed to provide just even the most basic protection during these winter storms.
And there is the rising risk of disease as well, made worse by the flooding across the enclave. Tell us about that situation and what needs to be done to address the rising medical needs of Palestinians in Gaza.
Well, of course, there's a few things that we need to consider. First of all, while we've seen improvements in the amount of food entering, people are still facing malnourishment. 1 in 4 people are still relying on just one meal per day, surviving on one meal per day. And so we have people who have weakened immune systems, who are exhausted, have been displaced multiple times, oftentimes, are not getting enough food, so their bodies are already weak. We have issues with the floodwaters being contaminated with sewage and solid waste, which are posing public health risks. And then we have a medical system that is still on its knees. There isn't a single hospital in Gaza that is fully functioning right now. And so we anticipate, as the winter continues and people are cold, people are hungry, people are malnourished and weak, that they're going to succumb to illnesses that should, in most circumstances, not be serious. But given all of the factors impacting people's lives, can prove even deadly. And so we need to see medical equipment be able to enter. We need to see doctors being able to enter. We've heard of medical teams that are continuing to be rejected from entering, even though so many people in Gaza are in need. And of course, we need to see those who cannot be treated inside of Gaza be evacuated and have treatment elsewhere where they're able to address and attend to their needs in an appropriate and well-equipped setting.
Okay, Shaina Low, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you again for joining us, and the very best of luck with your work in Gaza.